My name is Cora Mitchell, 35 years old, born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. From the outside, people would think I'm so lucky. A wealthy family, high social status, always appearing with a perfect smile in glamorous photos. But behind those velvet curtains is a truth few know. I am the one carrying the entire family on these weary shoulders, and no one understands that better than I do. Since I was very young, I've been the obedient child, the perfect daughter in outsiders' eyes. At home, I was the crisis manager, the lifeline for every mess created by my parents and my sister Sienna. My father, Richard Mitchell, was once a successful businessman. Now he's spiraling downward through poor decisions and failed investments. My mother, Margaret, is busy maintaining her image as the ideal lady at charity dinners and social events. And Sienna, my sister 2 years older, has always been cherished like a princess, despite her endless mistakes and unreasonable demands. Over the years, I'd become used to hearing the phone ring at 3 a.m., panic-filled messages about a deal collapsing, a failed project, or a newly exposed debt. And I was always the one to get up, open my laptop, and try to patch the holes they created. I've saved my father from bankruptcy countless times, fixed Sienna's reckless mistakes, and no one but me even cared to say thank you. That night, I sat in my office, the desk lamp casting a pale light on my face reflected in the computer screen. My father's company's financial report glowed red, as if drowning out all hope. I typed quickly, trying to finish the restructuring plan my father should have drafted long ago if only he'd listened. Cora, only you can save Dad now. That's what Sienna texted when she boarded a flight for her vacation in Hawaii, right after maxing out the credit cards our parents provided. I gave a faint smile. I couldn't even remember the last time someone called just to ask, "Cora, are you okay?" The phone rang. I picked it up. It was my mother. "Cora, I just saw the article about tomorrow night's event. Don't forget to send the report to your father before the party, all right? I don't want any slip-ups. Our family's reputation is very important, dear." "I know, Mom," I answered softly, swallowing a sigh. After that call, I buried myself in work again. The quiet night made the sound of the keyboard feel loud. My heart started beating faster, a dull pain tightening in my lower abdomen, but I ignored it. It wasn't the first time I felt drained. I had worked through countless nights just to protect what they called honor. Status. Outside, the streetlights glimmered faintly through the curtains. In this house, I was always the silent shadow behind their outward success. A perfect Cora to the world, but inside, I felt hollow. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sienna. "Send me money now? I have to put a deposit on the new house tomorrow morning. Don't embarrass me in front of my friends." I stared at those words, my hands trembling with anger I had nowhere to release. I knew for sure, if I didn't send the money, the family would blame me for everything the next day. More accusations, more tears over the family's damaged reputation, and still, no one would ask, "Cora, are you tired?" Another sharp pain hit, stronger this time. I closed my eyes, placed a hand on my stomach, and tried to take a deep breath. But I bent over the keyboard again, determined to finish the plan to save my father's company. Because I knew if I didn't, no one in this house would. I forced myself to complete the restructuring plan, the numbers on the screen blurring like a challenge. The pain in my lower abdomen grew fiercer, stabbing so sharply I had to pause and breathe deeply. But I told myself, "Just a few more minutes, Cora." The desk lamp became blinding. I typed the final lines, each word feeling like a heartbeat gone heavy and uneven. A searing spasm bent me over, cold sweat soaking me as if I'd run miles. But I clung to the desk, sending the file by email. Before everything faded from view. The sound of the chair crashing echoed through the quiet room. I reached for my phone, calling my mother. It rang, then went silent. I tried my father, no answer. Finally, I dialed Sienna. She picked up on the fourth ring, sounding rushed. "Cora, I can't talk right now. I'm about to go on stage. It's the family gala, remember?" I struggled to speak through shallow breaths. I'm on my way to the hospital. The doctor said it could be internal bleeding. Music from the party thumped in the background as Sienna lowered her voice. Cora, please, don't ruin tonight. I'm about to get the Young Inspiration Award. Handle it yourself. I'll call you tomorrow. I let the phone slip from my hand, my eyes blurred, more from pain than from hurt. The door burst open. The last thing I saw was the paramedics rushing in, their voices calling my name, as I slipped into unconsciousness. Inside the ambulance, the siren tore through the night. The medic gripped my hand, starting an IV. Everything dimmed, leaving only pain slicing through my abdomen. They whispered, internal bleeding, possible ruptured ovarian cyst, prep surgery on arrival. I barely whispered, Mom, Dad, before the darkness took me. The cold glow of the operating room lights fell over me. The machines beeped unevenly. Then, amid the shouts of the medical team, my heart stopped. 78 seconds passed in their fight to bring me back. 78 seconds my heart lay silent as they struggled to save me. Meanwhile, at the Stanton Grand Hotel, my parents and Sienna beamed under the flashbulbs in applause. Margaret dazzled in an emerald gown. Richard adjusted his tie, and Sienna glowed as she accepted her award. Someone raised a phone to record a clip. The Mitchell family would like to say thank you. We're proud to be a model family, overcoming every storm together, always supporting one another. That video went straight to social media, captioned, "Family is strength. Tonight proves it." No one in that grand room knew that just miles away, the one who truly bore every storm was fighting for her life, second by second. When I woke up, the sharp smell of antiseptic filled the air. The ceiling was stark white, neon lights casting a harsh glow. A nurse leaned over me, her voice gentle. Cora, you're awake. We're so glad you pulled through. You really had us worried. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down. Not from pain, but from the truth hitting me. 78 seconds, near death, and my family didn't even know. I lay still on the hospital bed, listening to the steady beep of the heart monitor beside me. Everything felt cold, unfamiliar. The white light from the ceiling made me feel like I was still trapped on the edge between life and death. I turned my head to look at the phone on the table next to the bed. The screen was black, no missed calls, no messages asking how I was. Just one notification. Sienna Mitchell had posted a new video. I opened it, my heart tightening. There was my sister, radiant in a golden dress, holding a trophy, standing between my parents. They were smiling happily before hundreds of guests. The caption glowed on the screen. The most unforgettable night of my life. Thanks to my wonderful family for always supporting me. Model family. Proud. I set the phone down, a tear tracing down my cheek. While I was fighting for every breath, they were toasting, laughing, marking their perfect family moment. A sigh caught in my throat. Since I was a child, I'd grown used to standing behind those glamorous photos, used to being the one carrying the weight without ever once being asked, Cora, do you feel all right? A soft knock at the door. A nurse came in, carrying a tray of medication and a glass of water. Her name tag read, Rowan. Cora, please, take a little pain medicine. The doctor said you need more rest. You just went through a very complex surgery. I nodded slightly, taking the glass. Rowan hesitated, then spoke gently. We called all the emergency contacts you listed. No one answered. We left messages too. I closed my eyes, silent. In my mind, a thought rang clearer than ever. It's time, Cora. Time to save yourself. When Rowan left, I reached for my phone. My fingers trembled as I opened my contacts. The names appeared. Mom, Dad, Sienna. I stared at them, my heart heavy. All these years, these names meant responsibility, burden, sleepless nights, worrying for them. I took a deep breath, then deleted each name one by one. A strange sense of relief washed over me. A message came through. It was from Sienna. Cora, I need you to transfer $5,000 right now to pay for the post-gala party. Don't embarrass me in front of the sponsors. I looked at the text, my hand gripping the phone tightly, not one word asking how I was. No sign that anyone even cared. The phone buzzed again. Mom. Cora, your father needs you to review the budget sheet before tomorrow morning's meeting with the bank. Be sure to send it before 8 a.m. I gave a bitter smile, smiling at myself for once, hoping they'd be different. I opened my email and started typing. HR department, request to update emergency contacts. Please remove all current contact information. I will provide a new list later. I hit send, leaned back against the pillow, and closed my eyes. A part of me melted, as if the invisible chain that bound me for years had just been unlocked. A while later, the door opened. Emery, my closest colleague, walked in, holding a cup of hot coffee. I know how bad hospital coffee is. Brought you this. She set the cup down, sat by the bed, her gaze warm and concerned. Cora, is everything all right? For the first time in years, I heard that question from someone who meant it. I burst into tears. I'm okay now, Emery, thanks to you. Emery gently took my hand. I've already contacted your lawyer. They're drafting papers to separate your accounts and update asset ownership. You don't need to worry anymore. I nodded, tears falling, but this time from relief, not pain. That morning, the first light streamed through the hospital room's curtains, casting soft rays over my pale face. I sat quietly, sipping the coffee Emery had brought, my heart still tangled. The relief from deleting my parents' and Sienna's names from my emergency contacts hadn't lasted long when Emery walked in again, her expression more serious than usual. She set down her laptop, pulled a chair close. Cora, I dug deeper into what happened that night. There's something you need to see right now. I looked at Emery, my heart sinking. Part of me had already sensed that things didn't end with their indifference. Emery opened her laptop, turning the screen toward me. There was a digital document, a medical power of attorney. The signature was my name, in handwriting identical to mine. But I knew I had never signed anything that night. This is a backup from the hospital's file, Emery said softly. It was submitted while you were in surgery. The sender was Sienna. I matched the timestamp with that gala video. It lines up with when she was backstage, about to get her award. My heart ached. While I was fighting for my life, she was busy faking my signature to explain away their absence from the hospital record. I forced a bitter smile. So they cared more about paperwork than my life. Emery shook her head, handed me another file. There's more. I had the lawyer check the trust fund your grandmother left you. And, Cora, you need to brace yourself. I opened the file. Every page felt like a knife to my heart. The statements showed that for nearly 10 years, my parents had quietly withdrawn chunk after chunk from my trust, tens of thousands of dollars at a time, adding up to an enormous sum. My eyes froze on one line. Property sale, house, left to Cora Mitchell by grandmother. Transaction date, 3 years ago. Seller, my father. I slumped against the pillow, my whole body cold. They sold that house, the only thing Grandma left, just for me. Emery gently squeezed my hand. That house, that trust. They used it all to pay their debts, to keep up the rich image you've been breaking your back to protect. I felt nothing but a strange emptiness, as if all the trust I had clung to had just been stripped away, revealing an ugly truth. My phone buzzed, a message from Sienna. Cora, can you help me with another $10,000? I still owe for the post-gala party, and the sponsors are pressing me. I looked at Emery, my voice hoarse. They won't. Emery nodded. But you can. From now on, you get to decide. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, opened my email, and typed. To Attorney Margaret, I request that all remaining accounts be frozen and a full audit conducted on all transactions involving the trust fund and real estate assets. Please initiate the necessary legal proceedings. I hit send, and in that moment, I knew. I had just ended the chain of obligations that bound me for so long. Emery spoke softly. They're going to panic when they realize what you're doing. I closed my eyes and whispered, let them face what they've done. This time, I'm not there to save them. Outside, the sun climbed higher. A ray of light streamed through the window, straight into my eyes. Everything had only just begun. 3 days after I left the hospital, I returned to the office. My first steps into my workspace felt both familiar and distant. Everything was as it had been. The dark wood desk, the neatly arranged bookshelf, the landscape painting I'd hung the first year I was promoted. But something was different. I was no longer the Cora Mitchell of years past. Emery walked beside me, setting down a cup of hot tea on my desk. If they come today, you don't have to say anything. I'm here. I felt relieved by her presence, but I knew it was time to face this on my own. And they came, faster than I expected. Early in the afternoon, Sarah, my assistant, knocked and spoke quietly. Cora, your father's in the lobby. He collapsed near the reception desk. We called medical help, but he says he just wants to see you. My heart tightened for a beat, then steadied. I stood, straightening my jacket. Emery, I'll go down. Just observe. I won't let anyone manipulate me again. Stepping out of the elevator, I immediately saw my father sitting on the marble floor, clutching his chest, his face pale, his eyes pleading for mercy. Office staff stood around, murmuring in concern. I approached, my voice calm and steady. Dad, get up, this isn't the place for this. He looked up, his eyes red. Cora, I'm sorry. I have no other choice. The company's about to go under, the bank's moving to seize everything. You can't turn your back on your family. Your mother, Sienna. They won't survive this. Those words might have softened me once, but not today. I knelt just enough so only he could hear. Stop the act, Dad. If you truly felt shame, you wouldn't have let it come to this. Get up. Don't make my employees witness this any longer. He staggered to his feet, grabbing my arm. Cora, you're my daughter. You can't be so heartless, watching your family fall apart. I gently removed his hand, my gaze cool, but not hateful. I'm not heartless, but I've stopped being the shield for this family's mistakes. All accounts are frozen, all access revoked. You, Mom, and Sienna will have to manage on your own. He froze, then forced a smile, lowering his voice in one last attempt. You'll regret this, Cora. One day, when you need your family, you'll remember this moment. I met his eyes. You're wrong. This moment, I'm saving myself. I only regret not doing it sooner. Sarah had already called security. They gently escorted him out. As he left, his figure no longer looked like the proud father I once remembered. Just a man stripped of dignity by his own greed. Before I could return to my office, my phone rang. A message from Sienna. Cora, you have to help me. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. People are starting to talk. Do you want this family humiliated? Right after came a call from my mother. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. Cora, I'm begging you. I don't want to lose everything. Don't let me down. I opened my laptop and sent one final email to Margaret. Confirm completion of financial separation, asset division, and ownership update. Initiate legal protections to block any further contact from the Mitchell family. Just 2 weeks after officially cutting all financial ties with my family, my new apartment was filled with the light and peace I had never dared dream of. This small riverside place in Charleston wasn't as grand as the old Mitchell mansion, but it gave me the first true sense of freedom I'd felt in years. Emery stood in the living room, raising her glass. Congratulations, Cora. This home, this life, it's yours. I clinked my glass with hers, a faint smile on my lips. Inside, I was already planning the next step. A long trip, far from the drama and burden, to rediscover myself. But I knew silence wasn't something the Mitchell family would accept easily. News about my family hit the local papers just days later. Mitchell business declares bankruptcy, family mansion faces foreclosure. Next came the collapse of Sienna's engagement. Her once proud fiancé, the one who had flaunted that sparkling ring all over social media, called off the wedding when he learned the Mitchells were buried in debt and their reputation ruined. Wedding vendors began filing lawsuits to recover unpaid contracts. They had lived off what I held together, and when I stepped away, everything crumbled like a sandcastle before the waves. Unwilling to accept defeat, my family started resorting to their same old dramatic tactics. They filmed a clip of my mother crying, her voice trembling inside the house, waiting to be seized by the bank. "Cora, I beg you, don't abandon your family like this. I can't go on seeing your father so sick while you turn your back. Please, for our family's honor. For me?" The video quickly spread through the small community where I grew up. People who once flattered the Mitchells when they were wealthy began sending me messages full of blame. "Cora, how could you be so ungrateful?" No matter what happened, family is still family. Don't you fear being seen as heartless for the rest of your life? An old classmate I hadn't heard from in years also messaged. "Cora, people in town are talking. They're saying you abandoned your parents at their hardest time. Are you okay?" I read those messages, and I no longer felt anger, only sorrow for them. People so used to hiding behind tears and reputation who, when the mask fell apart, blamed the one person who refused to be their shield anymore. It didn't stop there. Sienna sent me a new video, this time of my mother sitting in the dark, her voice breaking. "If Cora doesn't come back, I don't know what I'll do. What's the point of living like this?" Emery, sitting beside me, watched the phone screen and sighed. "Cora, they're trying to manipulate your emotions. Don't get drawn in." I set the phone on the table, my voice steady. "I'm not afraid anymore. They don't hold anything over me now." That night I opened my laptop and started booking the trip I had long dreamed of. Anywhere would do, as long as it was far enough that the cries and lies wouldn't reach me anymore. 3 months after I moved and began living for myself, a project I'd quietly nurtured finally took shape. I titled my first photo exhibition 78 Seconds, the number marking the moment my heart stopped on the operating table. The moment I realized I needed to be reborn, not just in body but in spirit. The exhibition was held at a small gallery along the river in Charleston. Photos I'd taken throughout my journey to freedom lined the walls. The for sale sign in front of the now ruined Mitchell mansion, the cold hospital bed where I lay alone after surgery, the sunset the evening I signed the papers cutting all financial ties, and the moment I looked out my new apartment window, telling myself, "Cora, you're finally free." These photos weren't dressed up or disguised. They exposed the truth of a family that for years had painted only its surface, hiding the tangled darkness beneath. Unexpectedly, that small exhibit caught the attention of the local media. One paper reported, "From the shadowed daughter of the Mitchell family to a storyteller through photographs, the 78 Seconds exhibit shakes Charleston." Visitors flocked in. Some quietly wiped away tears at the hospital bed photo. Others whispered to friends when they saw the for sale sign. Some shook their heads in regret reading the caption. "The house my grandmother left me, sold without a word to me." And then they appeared. At the official opening, while I was speaking with a reporter, the gallery doors opened, my mother, Margaret Mitchell, walked in, followed by my father, Richard, and Sienna. All three still wore expensive clothes, but they couldn't hide the fatigue and wear of months spent fleeing debt and disgrace. A murmur rippled through the room. All eyes turned to them. Some recognized them and pointed, some stepped aside, but no one greeted them like before. My mother froze at the largest photo, the for sale sign in front of the Mitchell mansion. Beneath it, the caption, "The place once called home. The place I'm no longer allowed to return to." Sienna's face drained of color at the photo of her message. "You have to save me, Cora. Don't you want to spare the family shame?" My father stood silent before the photo I took of him collapsing in the office lobby, his hands clutching at me, eyes pleading. I stepped forward, my tone calm. Welcome to the truth. I'm not stopping anyone from seeing this exhibit. And I'm not hiding anything anymore. My mother whispered, her voice shaking with shame and anger. Cora, how could you expose us like this? You've destroyed your family. I looked straight into her eyes. I didn't destroy it. What you, Dad, and Sienna did destroyed this family. I'm just telling the truth through my lens. Sienna hissed, her usual pride gone. I never thought you'd be this heartless. You want to humiliate us in front of everyone? I didn't answer. Their questions no longer meant anything to me. I turned away, leaving them standing there in the gallery, where every gaze stayed on them. Not with admiration, but with pity, anger, and realization. That night, when the exhibit closed, I stood at the gallery window, looking out at the river. The city glimmered with lights. Behind me, the photos kept telling their stories. And I knew. I had finally voiced what my heart had buried for so long. The night after the opening, I received an email from Margaret, my attorney. The subject line was simple, complete. Inside were documents confirming all legal processes were finalized, all financial ties between me and the Mitchells officially severed. They had no rights to any asset in my name, no more excuses to borrow or manipulate. I sat quietly for a few minutes, looking at my signature on each paper, my heart light as if I had shed a weight that clung to me for over 3 decades. Outside, society began to see the Mitchells differently. Those who once praised them now kept their distance. The sponsors who once clamored to attend my mother's events were silent, offering no more compliments. News of their deaths, the lawsuits from Sienna's wedding vendors, and my father's string of failed deals spread across the local papers. The family, once celebrated as a model household, was now a cautionary tale about the downfall of those who lived off a false image. Emma came in, holding 2 plane tickets. Ready, Cora? We'll go to Paris, then anywhere you want. I smiled, my first unburdened smile in months. Ready. This time, nothing's holding me back. That night's flight took me toward a new horizon. From the plane, I watched Charleston's lights fade beneath me, feeling an unexpected peace. Paris greeted me with its gentle autumn air, its old cobbled streets, and the smell of fresh bread in the morning. Emery and I wandered through narrow alleys, past charming cafes, and I felt I was finally living for myself. In those quiet days, I received an email from a publisher. The editor wrote that they had seen the 78 Seconds exhibit, moved by the story I told through my photos. They asked if I would write a book, a memoir about awakening, letting go, and setting myself free. I spent the night by my small rental apartment's window in Montmartre, watching the Eiffel Tower's lights glimmer through the mist, thinking about the offer. In the end, I opened my laptop and typed the first lines. 78 seconds. The time my heart stopped on the operating table, and the moment I truly began to live. Emery woke up in the middle of the night, saw me still writing, and just smiled. You're working through the night again? I looked at her, my voice light. Not working. This time I'm telling my story, telling about myself. On the day the book was released, I lingered in a small Paris bookstore, flipping through its pages. The cover showed my photo of the for sale sign at the Mitchell mansion. Beneath it, the title. 78 Seconds, the story of a daughter learning to break free from invisible chains. Outside, church bells rang in the heart of Paris. I closed the book, took Emery's hand. Let's go, we have so much more to explore. And I knew true freedom wasn't just escaping a toxic family. True freedom was finding the strength to live my life without fear or regret. Today, as I look back on the journey, I feel no bitterness or sorrow. Life taught me that sometimes the bravest thing isn't to keep carrying the weight, but to let it go. I chose freedom. I chose to live for myself, and it was the best decision of my life. Those who once called me an ungrateful daughter are now silent as the truth stands clear. And me, I'm proud I stood up, turned those 78 silent seconds into a whole new life. A life where Cora is free and strong. What do you think about Cora's journey to freedom? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt, meaningful stories about family life. Thank you for listening.